Blog Talk Radio.
Hello from my heart, everybody, and welcome to Transitions to Transformation Radio Show. I am your host, Reverend Sue, and tonight we have a very, very special guest. We have author and internationally renowned healer, I should say energy healer, and trainer of many Reiki masters, Rashmi Khilnani, and she has a wonderful, wonderful book out called Shiva Speaks, Conversations with Maha Avatar Babaji. And I just wanted to start off tonight with like a little song to kind of set the mood tonight. It's called Om Namah Shivaya, and it means I love myself, I honor myself, God, Goddess dwells within me as me. So I'd like to start off with like a little chant and maybe just kind of set the mood for tonight. So I'd like to sing Om Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om. So with that, I'd like to talk a little bit about Babaji real first before I bring in our wonderful guest, and also give a nice introduction to our wonderful guest. Babaji is known to many in the West through the famous classic Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. He is known as the Christ Yogi and the Guru of Gurus. Maha Avatar Babaji's role as the Christ Yogi is to oversee the ascension of humanity and Mother Earth to fifth dimension reality and beyond. As an internationally known teacher of Reiki masters, Rashmi Khilnani has channeled many of the humanity's greatest ascended masters, from Kuan Yin to Buddha to Jesus, but her most supreme master is Shiva, or Maha Avatar Babaji, with whom she has been conversing during this lifetime for more than 15 years. And her new book, Shiva Speaks, this remarkable connection with the divine, she shares the conversations that she has with Babaji, with the world. And Maha Avatar Babaji has assumed many forms over the centuries, but for his followers, he is all and in all, the Christ Yogi, who will remain with us until all of humanity has achieved enlightenment, or the moving out of the consciousness of linear time and space unto the eternal now. The coming of Age of Light requires many changes within us that must start with releasing ourselves of all dysfunctional attachments and illusions. As the illusion of control becomes harder to sustain with what many sense to be the collapse of the world order, Shiva's instruction becomes ever more critical. If we are to transform ourselves and enter the Age of Light, love is at the core of Babaji's teachings, and with this, the author and Babaji, the Christ Yogi, begin to lead us into a deeper understanding of our true relationship with the universe and the nature of the God-Goddess that resides within each and every one of us. He speaks of the importance of self-love and its role to understanding how all things are connected, and of the courage needed to uncover life-acquired attachments and learn to let them go. Judgment, evaluation, and analysis are all products of the dysfunctional aspect of our lives, and leaving them behind opens us up to the beauty and love of the universe. In this fresh, bold, and practical dialogue, Shiva instructs the reader on how to develop their own powers of inner knowing and allow the spiritual being within to grow. Filled with wisdom, love, and eternal compassion, Shiva Speaks helps the seeker to strip away fear, self-doubt, and other self-destructive habits and replace them with our authentic selves. Rashmi Khilnani is an internationally known healer, teacher, lecturer, author, artist, and television personality. She is in the forefront in bringing the ancient mystery school teachings of Egypt, India, Tibet, and China, as well as the teachings of the Essenes, into current time and making these wisdoms simple and accessible to people at all levels of soul journeying. She has appeared on numerous national and international radio and television shows and is the executive producer of a new documentary film, I, God. Rashmi is the author of the best-selling The Divine Mother Speaks, The Healing of the Human Heart, and Buddha Speaks, To the Buddha Nature Within. Rashmi is the host of 2013 and Beyond with Jeremy McDonald, heard monthly on blogtalkradio.com. Wow, that is really quite a biography there. I'm going to bring Rashmi on and welcome her to the show. Hello, Rashmi. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Sue. A big hello and a namaste from New Delhi, Mother India.
Wow, this is just wonderful. I'm just so happy to be speaking with you tonight about your wonderful book. And
Me too.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy. Shiva Speaks. This book really spoke to my heart. I was going through a lot of fear with a certain situation, and it really helped me remember that love and fear cannot coexist together. So this is just a wonderful book. There's so many chapters here that really speak to my heart, and I just wanted like a little more background history about the Maha Avatar Babaji. Now he was reincarnated, a while back, and if you could talk about that, that would be wonderful.
Well, his last official, appearance in the world of man was as Bhole Baba, Hare Khan Baba. He just literally manifested as an 18-year-old youth in the cave in Mount Kailash. And so he was not really born of a man or a woman. He just appeared, manifested a body, and was there for a few years until Valentine's Day, 6 or 7 years after that, when he left that body, having taught Leonard Orr and many others about physical immortality. It was quite funny, because he dropped that body and passed away. But they say that after they did all the, when a great being dies in India, we don't burn the body. There is like Maha Samadhi, so they're buried, but with a lot of ceremony and dry fruits and all sorts of things. And so after all those ceremonies were done, they found that the earth literally caved in, where they had buried him. And so he literally demanifested that body. And then he sent Leonard a letter saying, meet me in Nepal in another body. And so that's what happened for Leonard. And Leonard has been a friend of mine in this lifetime because I wanted to meet somebody that loved Babaji in that sort of particular way in which I did, which was constantly jumping cliff after cliff after cliff for Babaji, which is the Shiva principle within me. It's all oneness, really. There's no separation about it. And then I got to sort of, work on Leonard's Divine Mother healing and various things, and we went across the globe and discussed all the different bodies of Babaji that we had encountered in this lifetime, because they can manifest and demanifest bodies at will.
Wow, that is just amazing. That is absolutely amazing. And it really shows that love is eternal. It shows that we are all eternal, and
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, he taught Jesus, Moses, and Elijah, and, somebody on Facebook was arguing with me. They called themselves Mataji Babaji on Facebook, and then I realized it was probably some Italian lady because there was no actual physical picture of her. And she was sort of saying, well, how do you know, and which body was it, and which time, and Jesus came before Shiva, and all these sorts of things. So, it's like, we are multidimensional, and ultimately these beings are synonymous with us. So literally the divine can become two aspects, one can be the student and the other can be the teacher. And so, because she had some information saying that Jesus was an incarnation of Shiva as well. Well, the whole, the mantra Om Namah Shivaya means everything is Shiva. It means, the consciousness is everywhere and we are a unified field of consciousness. So that's what it actually means. But even some of the really staunch Babaji devotees forget that, and they make the separation. So that's just the mind energy, and in the West particularly, it's sometimes difficult to understand this unity at the core.
Oh, yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, better late than never, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, I tell
What's happening in the West now is, in my radio shows in the West, particularly in America, I'm just amazed at people that haven't even heard of Babaji and how they're connecting with this energy, because I think this is one of the few mainstream books on Babaji. I mean, there's a load of books out there by many devotees and many people, and it's wonderful. But I feel that this book, my book, Shiva Speaks, Conversations with Mahavatar Babaji, it's been published by Robert Friedman, who also published Neil Donald Walsh and Richard Bach and many others. So he's, one of the main publishers of channel material on the planet and esoteric wisdom. So this book is the purpose of it was for me to make accessible to all sorts of people at all levels of soul journeying this sort of information. And it's got nothing to do with religion, It's the universal principle of consciousness and truth, simplicity, and love.
Oh yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more. We're all, if everybody would just realize that we're all connected, and like you said, that we are starting to, we're all one. We're all manifestations of God's energy, and once we realize that we are creators in our own right, that could heal the world. And
absolutely. And all three of my books very much talk about absolute and relative reality, and all of us are constantly in both these realities. So in relative reality, we can be the personality self, and we are individual beings and with our own individual flavors, and that is totally authentic and valid. And at the center, though, of every single person and being on the planet, we are part of this unified field of consciousness, which is absolute reality. And ultimately, within that absolute reality, we come from the unmanifest to the manifest, and that's why great beings are always also very much in that energy of nothingness, stillness, silence, peace, the void energy. And that's the energy we go into during meditation, and it's not separate for each and every one of us. It is that same energy of the silence and the void energy from which the manifest realities spring forth. So as we begin to remember that wisdom, it really helps us to anchor in the vertical plane in these times of chaos, confusion, and change into the new energies. And at the same time, on the horizontal plane, we can, be our relative self interacting with others.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We're conscious creators, and with all this stuff going on about looming war with different countries right now, people talking about World War III and all that, I think we could thwart it by consciously and collectively thinking, love vibrations, just thinking positive, just kind of seeing everything work out. I feel like, if we all meditated on this, and just maybe send out the vibration of love and peace, that it would change the situation. What are your feelings about that, Rashmi?
Definitely, again, particularly in the West, but also now in the East, because the world is melting. We feel that reality happens from the outside to the within, but the truth is reality happens from the within to the without. That's one part. The other part is microcosm, macrocosm. The whole universe is within us, and each part of the hologram contains the whole of the hologram. And we are in a holographic reality. So definitely, peace comes from becoming peace. And, not having war comes from beginning to integrate and heal the war within us, within each and every one of us. Because for thousands of years we've been in the sleep cycle, call it Kali Yuga, call it, the dark ages. And now it's time to come into the, age of light. And so the dark cycle was where the mind energy has been supreme, and that's the male energy of thrusting, making happen, forcing, fight, flight, analysis, and so on. But this heart energy that we're moving into now, which we've always had but we forgot about, which is the feminine energy of allowing, embracing, accepting, making whole and complete, and not making good and bad, right and wrong, and just being in the allness and inclusiveness of duality rather than the, this or that mentality of the mind.
Yes.
So definitely, and if we go within and we start becoming that peace through looking at the areas of conflict within us, not just glossing it over with some sort of spiritual candy floss type practices that are avoidance of our feelings, though. Does that make sense, Sue?
Oh, absolutely. There's actually a book out about that called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. And if we don't look at our feelings from an honest perspective and deal with them, I can definitely relate. It creates illness. It creates not only illness in your body, but in your mind, and you project that out into the world, and you get all kinds of things. I might be overreaching here, but I think it affects the planet in so many different ways. We're all mirrors for each other, so I think if we're honest and we deal with our feelings, feel them and then release them, I think a lot of we'd be much better off. Absolutely. Absolutely. So in what way do you feel that the book Shiva Speaks, Conversations with Maha Babaji, really helped you or shifted something? Was there a particular chapter, or was it just the energy of love that came through? It was the whole book, but I have to tell you, there was one about intuition and doubt. That one spoke to me, and let's see, Love Is, that was another chapter. The intuition and doubt, that's faith and trust was another one for me, because I had a lot of fears going on, and when you have fear, you reminded me, fear and love cannot coexist. And that's one thing I learned when I was in the College of Metaphysical Studies. And it's like I consciously know it, but sometimes those feelings of fear really overwhelm you. And, you have to take a step back and kind of assess the situation and just say to yourself, well, fear and love cannot exist. And, learning to trust is very key. Actually I should say learning to trust the process, because I'm very much a person, I'm a Virgo rising, and it's like I have to be in control of everything, and it's hard for me to let go and trust that the universe will take care of everything for me. So it's like
and
that
that's
Virgo.
very much the energy of the mind. It's not just for Virgos, but for most of us now, because for this last cycle, which goes into thousands of years, we have been mind-oriented, and the mind is into controlling, into knowing what's going to happen, and into being very linear. And the current energy of heaven on earth, the New Age, call it what we will, the evolutionary cycle of waking up, is not linear. It's beyond time and space. It's an energy of, it's almost like a blank canvas in which our multidimensional nature can move in all sorts of different directions, and just let go of the story, So it's very difficult to understand the new energy with the mind, and where a book like this can help us to, shift into an experiential understanding of the energy of love, for example, as opposed to just the intellectual understanding of love being something in a linear way that we sort of give and receive,
Yeah.
Love actually is all that is, and we can even bring the fear and embrace that into the love, because, it's not about negating or pushing away the fear. It will come up, from time to time. And once we're in bodies, it definitely will come up, because the body is made up, we say in the Vedic text, the body is made of karma. So the body, cause and effect of the universe. So we say the body is karma. So if that is the case, which it is, then of course there is a lot of fear built into the body of every single person on the planet. Even the so-called, I was listening to somebody recently, and they were saying that there are very few people that are 100% enlightened on the planet right now. As in, totally, because when you're in a body, that's just the way that is. And as we're lightening up and changing this carbon-based body into a crystalline structure, that will begin to shift and become more liquid light, and so we have to be compassionate with ourselves during this process.
Oh yeah. I'm learning that, and thanks to your book, it's really helping me along. So this is a really great book, and I was just curious, being that you're a channeler, what is your channeling process? How do you do it?
Well, again, the how question from the mind, the answer is always allow, the allowance, and that's never easy for the mind. So we go into different practices, we have different practice, spiritual practice, to get us out of the mind, and there are many different types of yoga. For example, the yoga of devotion, which ultimately is the most powerful way in which to open up the heart and to feel this heart energy and come out, integrate the mind into that heart energy. So, and there's chanting, and there's, meditation and breathing and grounding and so on. So for me, the channeling process is not where, my voice changes or anything like that. I go into a sort of, do some form of ceremony. So when I was channeling the Shiva book, I got together with another friend of mine who's also a long-term Babaji devotee, in fact, way longer than me in this lifetime. And, she's also an energy master, teacher of many modalities of energy medicine and of Reiki masters. And so we would create an altar and play the Rudram, which is a very ancient sacred chant to Shiva, and go into a meditative state. And then soon after that, I would just sort of either lie on the couch or walk up and down or look at the trees outside and speak out the book. So I would maybe choose a few chapters and subjects, and then within that ask Babaji question answers as well. So the first half of the book, Shiva Speaks, is a little bit about my personal journey with Babaji in this lifetime. And then the second part of the book is myself asking Babaji questions in the now moment for this new age of Babaji as the ascended master who will be around till all humans ascend to the next octave, the next dimensional frequency on this planet. So, yeah, I don't know if that helps, but it becomes pretty effortless in that space for me. It's just something that started happening for me quite a few years ago, that I began to see Babaji appear before me in my studio in London, transcendentally, and then he started talking to me, and then now it's more like there's no separation. It's like the voice of my higher self speaking to me within me. Does that make any sense? It's sort of a weird experience.
Oh, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's really wonderful.
Yeah.
When you get to a certain, in that transcendental state, it's like almost, it is like an out-of-body experience where you actually go into another realm. And
well, yeah, but for me it's like quite grounded at the same time. So I'm able, which is quite interesting and unusual, I would say, but I'm not sure because I don't know everybody's channeling processes, is that I'm able to also be very grounded at the same time. So, like during the channeling, I might say to Amruvat, she's typing on the computer, and I might actually be processing her because I said a whole lot of information, and then she's sort of, reacting to that. And that was all part of the process as well, was for that to happen. Because, it was almost like she was like a lens to ground some of that energy in a way that was also easier for people to digest that. And so I'm able to sort of, the way it happens is like I'm asking a question, then I get the energetic answer, and then I'm able immediately to convert that energetic answer into words. And very little editing happens after that, if you know what I mean. It literally comes out as a book, more or less. Which is quite amazing, And I might even say, I might say, now put the comma there. I'd like you to Google something. So I might be multitasking while I'm channeling, and I think that is quite unusual, because I spoke to my my editor in Hawaii, John Nelson, who I love. He became a devotee of Babaji after he edited this book, and I was very concerned about editing a channel book because that's hysterical, really. But we were bringing two books together because I had written a book about Leonard and myself and our journey together in the last 4 or 5 years after I recovered from invasive breast cancer, which I sort of got because I had sort of said to Babaji, step up my path and give it to me as strong and hard as I can take to, for acceleration on the path of transformation. And that's what happened as part of me as a, Reiki energy teacher and of Reiki masters and modalities to go into hospital and have the humility to go through the whole allopathic route, which is what my guidance was from Babaji and others, and my higher self, and that's what I went through. But at the same time, bringing Reiki into one of the top, cancer hospitals on the planet, the Royal Marsden Hospital in London. And straight after that, I still had, the look of a person who'd been through a little bit of chemo, even though I actually looked very healthy at the same time. And Babaji said, get your passport ready to start teaching in America and to help in the shifting of consciousness in the States. And then the first book got channeled, which was at the request of Babaji, The Divine Mother Speaks, The Healing of the Human Heart, because Babaji contains the male and the female energies. He contains the Divine Father and the Divine Mother energies within him. At soul level, as we know, so we are all androgen.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyway, the story goes on and on and on.
hey, that's great. I love to hear it. I'm sure everybody likes to hear it too. You're amazing. I could listen to you forever, Rashmi. This is just amazing, an amazing journey.
Have you been listening to some of the shows we've done on 2013 and beyond? Oh yes. Okay. So yeah. So Babaji is not a religious figure out there. Babaji is the Om Namah Shivaya principle which means, infinite consciousness, infinite. There are millions of meanings to Om Namah Shivaya, infinite intelligence, and the manifest aspect of the spiritual being, the consciousness, the awareness, the spiritual intelligence of each and every one of us. And at this time of change, the Shiva principle is going to play out, which is the destruction of the negative, lower energies, call them negative. I mean, ultimately everything serves everything, for bringing in the new order. The new order is not a new world order. The new order is the new frequency of truth, simplicity, and love, and heaven on earth for each and every one of us, which is not a location outside of us. It's an energy that we are becoming from within ourselves, and thereby we transform the world. But if we're trying to transform the world from the outside to the within, that's just not going to work anymore.
Yeah, it's true. We have to change the world starting from within ourselves, because we're all mirrors to each other. And, energetically, I always tell people, my experience has been, I kind of see spirituality, actually energy is this, like we are human antennas, like you would see pulsations, like on the old RKO movie, the very beginning of a movie, you'll see like a radio antenna with the pulsations coming out. We're kind of the same way. We send out energy and we receive energy.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we all affect each other. So it's
so
amazing.
You're also a healer, Sue, and
oh yes.
What do you work with?
Yeah, a Sui Reiki master. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And so you're teaching people Reiki?
I would love to, but I just haven't. I haven't had the time, especially with this show. So I would like to do that one day. Absolutely, I would like to do that.
What work do you do? What job do you do? Do you have a job or something?
Oh, just doing the radio. I'm retired, and I do the radio show, and to me that's kind of like my healing right now. But eventually I would absolutely love to be trained in what you do, because I know you teach the teachers, and I'm looking at your site right now, and I'm seeing all these different modalities. I mean, my God, there's
once you become a Yusui master, then the next level is Karuna Reiki, where we have 8 symbols for compassionate action, for healing of abuse issues, for shadow healing. It just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. So what a lot of Reiki masters and Reiki people don't understand is that there are much higher and deeper levels that we can go into with the Reiki system, and that covers the spirituality of all time, basically. And then you go on to, there's 3 types of just different Egyptian Reiki mastery: Sekim, Seishim, and Sekhem. And Sekhem is a very immediate energy. So the Reiki energy comes from the God force into the crown, into the heart, and out of the hands. So it's very much about the upper chakras, even though, of course, we can work on it with the lower chakras. But generally, the way the energy comes is that way. And so it can tend to sometimes be ungrounded, whereas the Sekhem energy is immediate because it comes from the galactic core down through the heart, down to the heart of the earth, back up to our hearts, and then through the hands. It's also beyond time and space, so it's immediate. Wow. And then there's Rakuke, which is shamanic Reiki. There is then you get initiated into the energies of Saint Michael, Melchizedek, which is one of the highest priesthoods of healing ministry in the universe. Jesus was part of that ministry, and so are many of us. And then you get reinitiated into that. It's already with us from past lives, but just to ground the energy in this lifetime. And Reiki has become one of the most powerful and widespread systems of spirituality on the planet as we speak. So these were all given by the Ascended Masters for us to wake up now. And then there's a lot of debate in politics, and Reiki has now been, taken over by something much higher and better. The truth is, if you're just talking about very basic, levels of Reiki, then that's one thing. But even within that, Reiki means universal life force energy, so it encompasses all that is. It's just a question of attention plus intention equals manifestation. So how we use that energy is quite important. So vis-a-vis Babaji, that is just, again, it is the Shiva principle is a universal principle. It's got nothing to do with just Hinduism. When people came to Babaji from all over the world, and he appeared to people all over the world, I was amazed in Harakan in the temple to be chanting with young Russian boys that had just arrived, and they could barely speak English, and they were chanting really complicated Vedantic chants, and for the first time. It was just mind-blowing,
Wow, that is amazing. Yeah, that universal life force just runs through everybody, and it breaks the language barrier, too. It really does.
It breaks every barrier in the book. I mean, one time my cousin recently married a Russian girl, and we were in Goa, funnily, in a casino on a ship. And I was very bored with the gambling part, so his wife was a singer, and so we started singing. She was singing in Russian, and I was just sort of singing with her. And her mom and she were really amazed that I could sing in Russian, and I didn't actually know the song, and I can't sing in Russian, but I just did,
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
So we can all channel, and we can all just we can amaze ourselves by going to foreign countries and just tuning in, and because we've had so many lifetimes, and we are multidimensional, and we've just been very limited to this, BBC One, or I don't know, what have you got in the States, NBC News, whatever it is. Instead of
CNN.
Realizing that CNN. We can tune into a multiplicity of channels, of in that oneness, in that true silence. Then people say, oh well, are you just this channel or that channel? Channeling has been given such a bad name recently because sometimes when we're channeling, as I teach in Reiki, we can also be channeling psychic entities that may not be alive, but might be pretty low vibrational, may not be that high on the evolutionary cycle, which is totally fine. But the person channeling on Earth might actually be of a higher level of consciousness, which again is fine, but not for the purposes of learning, just because that other being is not in a body, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Yeah, there's it's true. It's true. Yeah.
So I was in Charlottesville, and we had this channel lady, and everybody was so impressed by her, and everybody was, going on to out-of-body experiences. And then I just said, excuse me, I hope you don't mind, but I would just like to ask you, who are you channeling? And so she was a bit amazed because everybody was just lapping up the information. And she said, oh, there are these guys, they're doctors, not in body. And I said, I'm not getting a great energy from these guys,
Yeah.
Yeah. And she went red in the face, and she said, you're absolutely right. They're not actually that evolved, And then she explained who they were. And but the people were still in their trance. And that's okay, a student can go to a false teacher and still become enlightened if their own heart is totally pure and their intention is 100% to become the light, or to become love or whatever they've gone to learn. Whereas a false student can go, a student that's just pretending to want this, that, and the other, but actually the heart is not fully engaged. And they could go to the greatest teacher on earth, and they won't be shifted. Because people say to me, oh, well, you have these access to these energies of Shiva, and Reiki, so why can't you fix this and fix that and fix your family? That's because we have free will, That's the first principle of Reiki or of spirituality or of love or truth, which is the free will aspect. So we can't impose enlightenment on people before they're ready,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I always say, when I was younger, I used to be like, I want to take everybody with me on this spiritual journey. But I found out that we all move in different times. When we're ready, we're going to be ready. But first we got to cross the moat to get to the castle. And it takes work. It takes a lot of work to shift from a judgmental mindset to one of love and accepting everybody as is. It was a journey for me, let me tell you. It was, I was always a very loving, giving, caring person, but there was this judgmental side to me. And I had to go through a series of illnesses and almost dying twice to wake myself up out of it. And it, and I'm thankful for it because, I look back at the way I was like, well, thank God this happened to me because, these experiences that kind of knocked me down and just kind of shook me and said, look, you can't be so judgmental. You have to walk a mile, and like the old saying goes, you have to walk a mile in a man's moccasins before you can really understand what their journey's like. And learning not to judge was the biggest lesson.
Absolutely. Well, what happens is that the mind is intrinsically judgmental. So, how do we get out of the mind? Well, you can't suppress and repress, and then to judge the judgment is a double bind, as the Pleiadians so beautifully explain in all their, channel books like Barbara Marciniak's Earth and, the Ptah tapes by Johnny King and all. So, so it's really important, how do we come out of this mind energy? And the way to do that is through the different spiritual practices. And in this book, Shiva Speaks, Conversations with Maha, Babaji, one of the express routes to calming down the mind is the Maha mantra, Om Namah Shivaya. I love myself. I honor myself. God, Goddess, dwell within me, as me. What this mantra does is, if we say it with devotion, it's not just about just like a robot, but when you're driving or working or sweeping or doing the dishes, whatever it is, you bring in this mantra, then it begins to release the worry and it begins to purify the mind and it begins to bring you into the core of your being, which is your nothingness energy, which is your heart energy, which is your simplicity energy, and it's also quite grounding actually if you do it with work. So for example, if you're doing some physical work like housework, and you're bringing in this mantra, it actually is very grounding as well.
I actually used that
so that's
today.
One of the big purposes, yeah. And how was that for you? What was the experience?
Oh, it was great. I was just cleaning my shower, and I remember I was reading that part of your book today, and it says even the most mundane things that you do around the house aren't really mundane.
Yeah.
It gets you to a state of, almost like a state of meditation and
prayer, yes.
And prayer, yeah. And what a great mantra to say over and over again, that to purify your mind and body. So, I was doing that today, and let me tell you, I had a bad, I don't know if it was food poisoning or a virus this past week, but today, after I said the mantra, I swear to you, everybody out there and it helped lift my mood. It helped, make me focus, because sometimes I get real scattered. And when I said that mantra, that helped me focus.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's called the Maha mantra. Babaji says you can chant in the name of the divine any which way you like. Now, the thing is, guys, there is no one world out there. There are many worlds. Each of us is in our own little world. But collectively, we have chosen to be in this hypnotic state that there's one world. The truth is there isn't. So 2, 3, 10 people can be looking at the same situation, and they'll come up with completely different filters on how they interpret what's happening. which is totally valid because that's what we're here to be. So the thing is to realize that, Babaji talks about karma yoga, which is the yoga of action. So he says the way to strongly come out of this Kala yoga energy, the age of darkness energy, one of the most important things he stresses is the yoga, karma yoga, which is the yoga of action. And so this is what we were talking about, when we're doing the housework or doing driving or, there are many tasks where we can bring in the mantra. Obviously, if you're using the mind specifically on a computer interaction or something, then that would not be relevant. And so bringing the two together is extremely powerful, which is that devotion aspect and the action aspect, which is what we're here for, really. And also to understand that God, the divine source, is all that is. And therefore, this whole world, including the so-called devil and the darkness and the fear and the separation and the control, and all of it is part of God, the divine. God is not separate to the dark energy. It is all one. And so therefore, if we are seeking this enlightenment, or there's a whole lot of words for it, synonymous to enlightenment, higher consciousness, raising of consciousness, ascension, which I'm teaching all the time. What is that? That is the embracement of all that is. That is the embracement of God, which is everything, including the dark and the shadow on this earth and the illusion and all of it. And so the greatest sadhana, or the greatest spiritual practice in the world, on this earth walk, is, this embracement and seeing everything as one. And the Om Namah Shivaya mantra, for example, as we say, we can say any name of God, is the re-reminder of that. The re-reminder is that God is not outside of me up there in the sky. God is me. I am divine. Guys, really feel what I'm saying out there, as opposed to being intellectual and saying, oh, well, we know that. Just feel what I'm saying, because many of us don't have an actual experiential of what I'm saying. We're bringing in the energy behind the words, which is everything is the divine. Everything is God. Everything I encounter is me, which is everything is Shiva. So Shiva is not just the body of Babaji as Bhole Baba and Harikan, or the Kriya Yoga Babaji, or all the different Babajis that appeared, or Jesus, or Moses, or Elijah, or just Mother Mary, or just Saint Michael, etc. It is in everything, everywhere, including in the dirt and the dust and the grime and the suffering. And so as we embrace that, as we accept that, then we change everything into heaven on earth, which is what we are, from within to the without. Then we don't need to, out there do a huge crusade. Our inner revolution into this light being that we are will reverberate through the ethers to everybody everywhere. It just took one Jesus. It took just one Moses. It took just one Buddha to shift reality, not just at the current time, but in the past, future, and everywhere, because time ultimately is simultaneous, and everything ultimately is beyond time as well. How does that feel?
That feels wonderful. That's a great feeling. That's a great feeling to know that. Because, as a girl growing up, I was always a big peacenik. I was always into peace. I hated war. Who doesn't? But, I would look at the TV and I'd be like, I feel so helpless. What can I do? Well, actually, through all the spiritual studies, I've realized, we all have it within ourselves to do that meditation, to just think of the word peace and meditate on that. And believe you me, we can all change our reality from a hostile one to peaceful.
Television.
Yes. That's right.
Because it's a whole lot of nonsense,
It is. My dad taught me. After he seen, I would get so upset. Yeah, it is mind control. they scare you to death, and then they make you buy stuff. And it brings me to that song, Choose What You're Watching by the New No 2. George Harrison's son, Danny, spelled D-H-A-N-I. You know, he did a wonderful song, along with his group, the New No 2, Choose What You're Watching. You should all listen to it. In fact, I might just dub that onto this onto this broadcast, because it just basically illustrated everything that you just said, Rashmi. It's true. Or actually,
so this book is available on Nook and Kindle, and also now in paperback on Amazon.com. I think it's temporarily out, sold out or something, but you can still order your copy, and they will send it to you as soon as they have more stock. So, it's I think there's some sort of apps on iPad, for example, where if it's on Kindle, you can actually get the iPad to speak out the book to you, which could be quite interesting. I need to experiment with that. But yeah.
It's wonderful. I'm so glad that you mentioned where you can get the book. I was going to ask that, and I'm glad that you brought that up. We'll mention it again a few more times before this broadcast is over too.
Sure.
Absolutely. Because it's a great book. I mean, it's not too thick, and it breaks down everything in layman's terms. It was like one of the best reads I've ever read, because it's so easy to digest, and really gets to the point. And I agree with everything that you said in that book. And I think it's a great tool for these changing times, especially when the media is trying to scare the bejesus out of everybody, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of inner and outer fear kicking around, because, this whole coming out of the mind energies is not going to be easy. It's been around for so many eons, and, it's just an intensification of the battle within each and every one of us. This Third World War is within each and every one of us. It's a battle between our minds and our hearts. And I'm not talking about the emotional, romantic heart. I'm talking about the cosmic heart within us, that energy that is totally centered between the duality, polarity that we're in of, night, day, hot, cold, fear, love, and so on. In that space, everything is dissolved and becomes part of the nothingness and everythingness, and is totally allowed and embraced. And fear is just seen as a polarity of love. So whenever we shine a very bright light somewhere, the shadow will appear, but the shadow is not real. So fear is not real. It's just false evidence appearing real. And yet we have to honor our fear process as well, and not suppress and repress it, or we're going to end up being very sick or exiting the planet as well. And if we just keep, being mesmerized by our media and so on, then most of our listeners understand that, I think that most of them that will be listening to this show are probably on quite a strong ascension path. And I think I feel it's getting extremely intense for each and every one of us. And I would, miss intensity. I love intensity. But even I find sometimes recently, it's just like, wow, how much more are we going to take here? But and this sort of book, particularly this book, it contains the energy behind the words. And this Shiva energy is what we're swimming in right now. And the first book, The Divine Mother Speaks, is also very important, because this goddess energy is now reawakening in each and every one of us. And so these two energies, one of letting go of that which is the past, which is 13,000 years of darkness, and all the habits around that. And this energy of the Divine Mother, which is the allowance, the embracement, the acceptance, the goddess energy. When the hearts of men and women is awakening, that co-creative energy that Sue's been talking about, which is so exciting. That's all the goddess energy within us.
Yeah, it's an amazing energy, a healing energy, and one of truth and love. And speaking of truth and love, by any chance, could you lead us in an experiential short meditation in Maha Avatar Babaji's energy of truth, simplicity, and love?
Okay, we can do that. So you just take a deep breath in, and a long breath out, and another deep breath in, and a long breath out. So just remembering now that in these times of chaos, to just connect to the breath. And the breath is what anchors us in our bodies. And then just remembering to ground as well. So most of us know how to ground. But right now we're going to bring our attention plus our intention to our hearts. Put a palm gently on your heart. Take a deep breath in, and from the heart we will chant Om through the pranic tube, connecting all the chakras down through the root chakra to the center of the heart and Mother Earth. Chanting Om, the primordial sound of the universe, the sound of oneness. And then feel the energy from the heart of Gaia coming up through the pranic tube, through the root chakra, into the heart, and into all the chakras, into the whole of your being. Breathing deep. See if you can chant with me too. Just allow it. It's just a sound of all that is.
Sure.
Breathing deep. From the heart now, through the crown chakra, through the soul star chakra, up to the cosmic energies, to the heart of the cosmos. Feel the expansion, feel the elation, feel the unlimited being and becoming of your multidimensional nature. And then from the heart of the cosmos down into your heart. Take a moment to feel the heaven and earth energies mingling in your heart. Through the pranic tube. Prana is Reiki, Chi, life force energy. This energy is moving through the pranic tube constantly at all times, whether you are breathing correctly or not. While you're on earth, this is what's happening. But when you put your attention plus intention into this process, you strengthen this prana, this life force energy, and you stabilize in chaos. You connect to this vertical plane, which is who you be, and anchor. So no matter how great the storms are on the horizontal plane, you're able to face them. Now feel this energy of nothingness for a moment within you. And then we're going to breathe in heaven and earth on an in-breath. On the out-breath, we're going to open the 1,000-petal lotus of our hearts within free will, gently, and see how much the heart wishes to open. Breathing deep. Feel the gentleness of your heart opening, allowance, make it safe, safety, bubble, protection. If you need one, within absolute reality, there is no protecting because there is no subject and object. It just is what is, all that is. One more time. And this beautiful heart space, deep within you, which comes from nothingness to all thingsness. Let's bring in the Maha mantra. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. I love myself. I honor myself. God has dwelt in me as me. How does that feel? Feel that in your DNA. Feel that in the cells of your being. Feel that in your blood. Feel all that is within your bones. Feel your divinity within your aura. Feel it in your skull. Feel it integrating the right and left hemispheres of your brain. Just know it's happening. It already is. You're just becoming aware and flowering that which you already are, your divinity. Om Namah Shiva. And now into the heart. Feel your energy of love, of all that is. And feel the love of the whole of the manifest reality, universe. And then feel the truth of all that is, and remember that the truth changes from the ground floor, going up to the top of the Empire State Building, and up into the atmosphere of planet Earth, and up into the atmosphere of this universe, many universes, the multiverses, infinity. So just feeling all levels of truth, or just truth in the now moment, with deep integrity and love in your heart. Just feel it. Palm gently on the heart, perhaps one on the solar plexus for those that have their hands free. And now bringing in the energy of simplicity. Love is simple. The truth is simple. Beingness is simple. Heaven on earth is simple. It simply is. The universe is within you. Isis, the goddess, is within you. All the ascended masters, all the angelic beings are within you. The universe is within you. Shiva principle is with you, bestowing great grace within you. Just allow it. So feel the simplicity in all parts of your being. Breathe in deep. Simplicity. And then ground this energy. Take a moment to ground. Take a moment to feel this nothingness and everything energy while becoming aware of yourself and your bones and your body. Nicely connected to the center of the earth here now. Feel your nothingness and your everythingness grounded on earth here now. And taking some deep breaths in. And yawns or sighs and long breaths out. Come back to the show feeling rejuvenated, recharged, relaxed, trusting and relaxing, trusting and relaxing, trusting and relaxing. How do you feel, Sue?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rashmi.
Thank you, Babaji. Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you, Babaji. Om Namah Shivaya. Oh, that was wonderful. Wow, I just feel great. Thank you so much for that. Oh, that was just amazing.
Thank you. Actually, it's so funny, but sometimes I forget to be in these spaces myself, and through doing so many multiple radio shows, it keeps me in the zone. So, sometimes I think, why am I being pulled out of being in a meditative cave somewhere, which is part of my many lifetimes of beingness. And yet now I realize just this second, actually, that I'm in this space of nothingness, and at the same time I'm with you. I'm also grounded. I'm talking to you, and so I'm in this total void, and within that, universes. I could be spinning through universes right now, and yet I'm Rashmi speaking to Sue in Florida from New Delhi on planet Earth here now in so-called 2014 March, and wow, the feeling is amazing. And so, the spiritual path continues, and we are all serving out there in whatever we're doing. Some of us are firefighters, some of us are nurses, some of us are just being, just not doing too much and giving up our jobs and yet still holding awareness, holding consciousness. And so, great blessings to all of you out there, and blessing you for the great courage that each of you has to have chosen to be here on planet Earth here now at this extremely challenging time, but at the same time extremely exciting time as we come to a shift of dimensions and an experiment that has never ever been conducted in any universe before. So, nobody actually knows the full outcome of what will happen, whether we will be able to achieve ascension for 7 billion with Gaia here now. But the chances are looking extremely bright. It just takes 5% of us to shift to carry the collective with us within free will. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing. That is amazing. That's wonderful. Yeah. I just that's an amazing feat itself, and it all begins with each and every one of us. Like we keep saying, it's the power of the collective is just amazing. It can literally move mountains. It's just an amazing thing. Right, I had a question. Is there a connection between Maha Avatar Babaji and rebirthing and other modalities being taught and practiced by millions?
Definitely. When Leonard went to Huracan at the time, it was very difficult to get there because there's jungle and there are wild cats. Even when I went, the guys who were helping me with my baggage down the hillside were like, hurry up, why are you taking all these breaks, because we need to get back before dark or the wildcats will eat us up. So I was like, oh, right. And you can hear them wailing at night. So, he went to Babaji and he was studying physical immortality. And he said to Babaji, so it's connected to the breath. And Babaji sort of looked at him like, of course it is. What a stupid question, type of thing. Anyway, and Leonard formed what is called rebirthing. Are you a rebirther, Sue?
I've never done that before.
Okay. So I'm a rebirther, and I teach rebirthing as well. So anyway, he formed the system, Leonard did, and it's called the Father of Rebirthing, and it's conscious connected breathing. So the in-breath goes into the out-breath, and the out-breath goes into the in-breath. There's no gap at the top, and there's no gap at the bottom. And when you do this conscious connected breathing, even 21 breaths, and we could bring that in another radio show we might do together. It helps to create physical immortality, rejuvenation, recharging, healing, youthing. It's just mind-blowingly powerful because we tend to be exhale-oriented breathers as opposed to inhale-oriented breathers. And many of us suppress and repress our breath because we don't want to feel our feelings, and we don't want to feel our feelings because we don't want to feel the pain. However, as many of us now know, that as we begin to take baby steps towards feeling our feelings, and there's a lot of that covered in my first book, The Divine One Speaks, The Healing of the Human Heart. Healing is feeling. So, and the breath really helps us with that. And when we have a 2-hour session of rebirthing, then we have a period of this almost like hyperventilation, conscious connected breathing, but we let the breath do whatever it wants to do. And at the end of all that, there's so much energy, chi, prana, life force, and it's just, and then stuff that needs to be healed comes up, and then you have an integration phase. So I won't go too long into rebirthing, but basically, it's Kriya Yoga is something I've been initiated into, and that's a complicated system of yoga, breaths, and postures for ascension. And rebirthing is considered the modern Kriya Yoga. So Babaji was definitely impulsed many healing modalities.
In fact, I did do that. I was taught like pranic breathing, so I did recognize the rebirthing. Yeah, actually, I have done that. It's pretty amazing. It really is.
And there are different other forms of in India, of course, when Leonard presented my mother, this is quite funny, with his book, I brought him to Delhi, and he really wanted to meet my mother because he had been receiving Divine Mother healing from me, so of course he wanted to meet the mother of this chick,
Yeah.
And so he gave my mother one of his thick books, which is the Rebirthing in the New Age. And my mother just tossed the book on the sofa and she said, you can't talk to Indians about, pranayama.
Yeah.
We don't need she said, we don't need to read a book about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, she's not into books that much. I mean, even though she is a writer and my dad was one of the most famous journalists on the planet. But anyway, so, it's just, it's intrinsic to the whole, the Vedantic Indian spiritualities, the breath. And now, of course, it's been made popular in the West through so many ways. But this whole East-West divide is totally shifting. I mean, I'm so excited to see that in the radio shows. My mother once asked me, she said, well, but you're in America and you're doing 100 radio shows and, do Americans understand the Om Namah Shiva? And I was like, I said, I'm just mind blown how sweet it is when people sometimes just normal people that are not, quote unquote on the spiritual path, just see a picture of Babaji and go, I'd like to get one of those, I have to have a picture of this guy. Who is this guy? I mean, I'm just getting so much love energy, or my heart is opening, or sometimes people will say, oh my God, you look just like this being, and it's almost like when I'm channeling him or speaking about him, or just my presence in the States, for example, where so many are so childlike and receptive, whereas sometimes in India, for example, the land of spirituality, people have become sometimes a bit jaded with it all, or they think they know it all, and yet they're not practicing it, in that baby-like innocent fashion, with the newness of the now moment. So, it's wonderful to see how everything is changing and how just radio show hosts, for example, that have never heard of the Shiva principle in that kind of experiential way are chanting the mantra and finding massive shifts happen in their lives, or through, bits of wisdom in the book, for example. So that is very, very, very exciting to see how we're all becoming part of one unified field of consciousness. And, for me, Jesus and Mary and Melchizedek and the archangels and all the beings are so important, which is why I chose to teach a non-denominational form of spirituality, which is Reiki, and I also chose many other modalities besides Reiki, and chose to channel books on different types of beings, to show that the language may change, but the energy is ultimately always about love, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, in order to, see all the modalities that you do, I'm actually on your site, www.reiki-energy-mastery.com, and you can learn a little bit more about Rashmi and all of the amazing healing modalities that Rashmi does. She teaches, and it's just amazing. I'm just looking here, and I'm a Reiki master, and I didn't even know about Saikim, Raku K.
The good news right now is that if people just even get these 3 books, Buddha Speaks, the Divine Mother Speaks, and Shiva Speaks. I mean, I'm having people say, across the globe, will you teach us this and teach us that? And I'm like, well, just get hold of my books and don't read them all at once, because though they're very small books, they're extremely intense, and they're also multidimensional, and you can read different parts, and each time you read the part, you'll get a different picture even, So it's not something like you read and then you just put it away, but it's more like you dip in and out of these books through your lifetime even. Then I'm like, save your money, and you don't even need to do a whole modality anymore, because the energy on the planet now is so amplified. And I hate to say this in a way, but I have to say it because it's my truth. I'm grounded, I'm in the world, but I'm not really part of the matrix as such anymore. So yes,
right.
Money is important, and money is, an energy, and I respect money, and I always say the goddess Lakshmi and I are one. And people say all over the world I'm like a spiritual princess. But the truth is, right now in my family, there's, people are not being correct about a massive amount of money that my father and grandfather left. And there's a lot of so-called injustice and so on and so forth. But, I just keep rolling and moment to moment following my guidance. And, for me, service is so important, and that's what happens when we meditate. And then when all that love overflows, and then when we become healers, for example, and becoming a healer is just a word, but when we start clearing the inner world of all the gunk and the false conceptions and perceptions, then, this is what happens, is that we want to serve. And so, there may be a time when I will charge again. For the last 5-6 years, I've been able to do 80% of my work for free. And I say to people, the Divine Mother speaks the healing of the human heart. It's the whole of Reiki Energy Mastery made simple. And I was supposed to create a system of Reiki beyond Sekam, the Master level, called Hator. But I chose to channel the book instead because, it was simpler, and then there was none of the politics of Reiki going on within it. And by the way, I'm not knocking the good aspects of Reiki are just mind-blowingly amazing. But I just wanted it simple for people because it's time to wake up now, and the time of hiding esoteric wisdom is over, isn't it?
Yes, it sure is. And I'm so glad because, it's so healing. It really is. It's very healing, and it's nice to know that there's more to life than just the material things, like George Harrison used to call it, the material world. So, it could be a heaven on earth.
What's interesting is so many of the radio show hosts that I work with, and these are the spiritual leaders of America as far as I'm concerned. You guys are the spiritual leaders of America in the sense that, the so-called famous spiritual authors out there, and all bless them, they've done a great job in the 80s and so on. But, it's no longer about who's famous anymore. Would you agree, Sue? It's about people like yourself that have devoted your life. You could have chosen to do something else, like just, whatever. But this is what you've chosen to do, and you do it selflessly and for free, Yeah. And there are so many of these amazing people across America and the world, that are doing these radio shows and with full heart. And what I find most interesting is that so many of them are Reiki masters. And that doesn't mean, people misunderstand Reiki master. It just means you've reached a certain level of mastery within yourself from your own healing process. And it's not just about going out there and healing others and fixing others. It's very much like the Egyptian infinity symbol of also healing and beginning with our own healing process. And it just is going to soon be a system where we just freely give each other. And as we do that, there will be so much flow, so much abundance, and money in the way that we know it today won't exist anymore. I mean, already for many of us, that is not part of our reality. It's becoming less and less important. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. For my birthday this past year, I spent in a 5-hour seminar with Jeremy McDonald. He's an amazing healer too. And I thought to myself, you know what? I could go out to Red Lobster. I could do this or that. But I was like, you know what? And it takes a lot for me to turn down Red Lobster, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So I said, so I was like, well, you know what? I wanted to nurture my soul. I wanted to nourish my soul. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do something different this year. I'm going to learn about, healing myself further and healing the world. So, that was like the best birthday that I ever had. And I found it was better than going out shopping or anything because I definitely had fulfillment in a different way that I hadn't experienced in a while. And it was just amazing. To me, it was just, Absolutely amazing. So yeah. I'm finding, needing material things less and less. Yeah.
Most people are finding that now. I think that, it just is the way the energy is now. We have reached a very dense part, and now we are all beginning to see something else, where music or creating or painting or dancing or singing or connecting or, just being in nature, being alone, being with our children, being with music, being in the silence and being in these healing spaces with self and others is just so powerful. And, just buying another 20 handbags, it doesn't do it in the same way anymore, does it?
No,
and that's not knocking shopping. We can still enjoy the material, but we can also be simple with it at the same time. We don't actually need an accumulation,
Exactly, and that's one thing that I've learned, and I learned that big time because I've had to go through so many boxes full of stuff. I'm like, why did I get all this stuff? What was the need for it? And just realizing, wow, I really don't need all that much stuff. And it's like you said, you don't need to accumulate so many things. I mean, it's nice to treat yourself well and all that stuff, but it's nice to get.
It's important because the material also is the divine. But it's because for 30,000 years, we've had this mind energy, and the mind is always limiting it and controlling and lacking. There's always something lacking, and you've got to latch onto it, and you've got to hoard it. And that's been the mentality from many of us are born to parents that, went through World War II, World War I, and all that sort of thing. And so that lack energy is just, goes on, eons and eons, back. But the truth is now we are instant manifestors, there's a lot of people go, but I'm not. Well, actually you are. The I'm not, the belief that you're not, well, that's part of not, and that's fine. That's free will as well. But, so now I'm realizing, well, I have just a few suitcases across the globe now. I mean, I just lead an off-the-wall life where I've been living in hotels the last 6-7 years, and I sold everything I had just to serve, to do the books, to do the film, and to go across the globe and teach for free and, do free radio shows, the whole thing. My mom says, do you earn money on this? Do you earn money on that? Do you earn money on the books? And the answer is no, I don't. And if I did, I would put the money back into serving. Having said that, do I wear, nice clothes? Yes, I do sometimes. And do I carry a nice handbag? Yes, I do. And do I, travel, with a flat bed on an airline sometimes when I need to because my back has gone from, traveling since I was a baby because I, came here to serve on this planet this time around. Yes, I do, because, that's the whole thing about heaven on earth. It's not the slum of, the kingdom of heaven. It's the kingdom of heaven. It's not the slum of heaven. It's beautiful. But it's this accumulation where, people, in each household in New Delhi, in my house we've got 6 cars and there's just 2 people or 3 people here. There's no need for that. There's no need for things that we don't need. So every day, and every week and every month, if everybody goes around their houses and gives to charity the things that they don't need, and even beautiful things that they do think that they need, but they actually don't use. And we do the inner feng shui, which is mentioned again in all my books, which is, clear out thoughts, ideas, beliefs, people that no longer serve us. Then new beautiful things can come, and that might be a piece of gold, and that might be a diamond, and that might be a tiny crystal, and it might be, a blade of grass and some sand that we make a beautiful painting with. When I was in Baghdad once, years ago, and I had nothing to paint with, I just took house paint and various things and did a beautiful mural on the door, out of just bits and pieces that I found. So we can all do that, and we all will. And as we learn to share, that is the ultimate heaven on earth energy, is this sharing energy. And beings like Babaji really help to open our hearts to that, because he gave everything, body after body for mankind, took on all the negativity and passed out in those bodies, and then reappeared. And for an avatar means all that is source. to manifest it in the body, even though it's effortless on the one hand, it also takes a lot of energy, if you can imagine, to come from such high frequency into such density. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Jesus did the same thing. Jesus, in the end, also, he didn't die for our sins in that kind of Christian evangel and kind of heavy kind of way. It was more to show us also physical immortality, to show us that matter can neither be created nor destroyed, to show us ascension on earth here now, and to show us forgiveness, but also to show us that we can transmute anything, as Babaji showed me, that I would transmute chemotherapy, radiotherapy. I went through all that invasive, intensive allopathic treatment as a holistic teacher of healers. I was totally humbled, and Babaji said, I want you to have these 8 initiations because human beings have radiated this earth. They have chemicalized this earth. They have, cut themselves. I had 2 operations. The second operation I knew I absolutely didn't need. My healers, I was with top healers on the planet, like my friend Matthew Manning, the most tested healer on the planet. I went to see Stephen Churoff, who's, one of the top psychic surgeons in the world. I was a psychic surgeon myself. And my surgeon said she wanted to learn psychic surgery from me and let me teach my students from Hollywood psychic surgery after I'd been cut up twice in my hospital bed. It was just mind-blowing. People were coming to the bed to have healing, the teachers, the doctors, the nurses, and the patients. And I was walking around, one nurse was chasing me because I wouldn't wear a dressing gown. And, healing all these people, young girls that were dying of breast cancer with their children sitting next to them. I was like, oh, my God, there's no way I'm sitting in my bed pretending to be ill and dying when I'm watching all of this, I want to heal these guys. Yeah. And then I got on a wheelchair and I went to Sweden and Denmark and continued to teach there. But at the same time, I took a lot of time off, lay down by the river in St. Albans in a sleeping bag, and heal myself in my boyfriend's grounds, in St. Albans, next to the cathedral there. And so, we're all going to transmute all the pain. We're all sailing in the same boat. Nobody's higher or lower than anybody else. Babaji says, I am nothing, I am nowhere. Yeah. And at the same time, it is all that is. He is extremely powerful. It's the cosmic plug. And people like Leonard and I say, if you can go straight to the cosmic plug, why do you want to go to lesser energy? A Maha avataric energy like that can help shift you and heal you and take you out of your pain very, very powerfully. So how do you feel, Sue, about, say if you're faced with a lot of intense injustice that has gone on for 30 years and you can't walk away because it's your family, for example.
Right,
Then how would you apply this wisdom, say, from this book or from your life to coping with something like I'm just presenting to you?
I would say forgiveness. Forgiveness is the ultimate healer. It not only frees you and the other person, but actually forgiveness is for you and not the other person, really. When you learn to detach from the wrongs that have been done against you, healing takes place. It's just everything happens for a reason, and you just have to, just kind of think, okay, well, where is this taking me?
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. But now, for example, suppose you are in a situation where you're choosing to be there, A, for your growth, of course, but B, also because, say, it's your family and you need to be there for whatever reason. And suppose every single day, metaphorically, you're being slapped in the face.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well,
okay. So
yeah.
Suppose you're there for 30 days and every day you're being... Now, this is quite interesting that this is coming up because we're going to bring in the Shiva energy now. Okay? But you are also Shiva right now. Okay? And this question is being put to your wise self. And so suppose every one of those days, every day you get a slap. And that's just, we're really simplifying it. It could be, long stories, which we don't need to get into. Okay. Then what do you do? Then what is the wise way forward?
Well, that's a tough question. I would say.
So feel your way into the answer from your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Ground yourself first. Yeah, first ground yourself, and then connect to your heart energy. And we're talking about the cosmic heart. So that's where the wisdom energy is, right?
Right.
And it comes through a feeling. The answer will come through feeling it out. So now here we go. Let's create a space, and you're going to speak.
Okay. So if you're in a situation that keeps you constantly getting hurt, emotionally, physically, you just have to really love yourself enough to put up boundaries, and the self-love is what I'm feeling. You have to love yourself enough to walk away. Yeah.
So the thing is, you can't walk away because you're in a situation. We're not going to get into the reasons about. You're there for other people in that situation, and some of them are being abusive. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So the overall. So for example, let's take the example. Let's make it more clear. Let's take the example of Mahatma Gandhi. Okay. So Mahatma Gandhi was beaten down and beaten down and beaten down by the British, and he was put into jail. Okay.
Yeah.
So now I've given you the answer as well by giving the example of Mahatma Gandhi. So there was no walking away for him because his mission was bringing the light to the dark place. His mission was freedom for India, but in non-violent ways. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
for example, I'm in New Delhi right now because my mother's 83 years old, and it is my duty and my love for her that brings me here. Now, my family is at a different frequency to me, and they live much more in the matrix than I do. And upstairs is my brother, who she loves, and has got in a situation where he's, become pretty overly controlling. And so they all live in the same house, upstairs and downstairs. So my mission is to be here with my mother. And she's also entangled in part of this, dark. Everybody has a dark and light. There's no black and white, not even with a saint usually, Because even when a saint manifests in a body on earth, the shadow will appear, and very often it happens through people being around great beings. They say, oh, this happened and that happened. It's because the shadow is also allowed, yeah? Because there's also an embracement of the shadow. You don't make it wrong and bad. So, for example, around Jesus was the crucifixion. I mean, that was dark, wasn't it? It wasn't of the light. But all the dark is allowed. And also, actually, the crucifixion was his final initiation to go from being a master into a divine being. Yeah? So anyway, so then what do you do? So what I'm saying is that the option is not walking away. If the option is not, and this is what everybody who's listening is facing right now. Now tell me, are you not facing a similar situation? Everybody is. This is the current initiation with all the way the planets are right now. Everybody is being pushed. This is the Shiva energy. It's the destruction of the lower frequency for the higher frequency. But funnily enough, that destruction doesn't happen just taking a gun and shooting. So it could be in self-defense. That happens through this energy of staying with not running away, because the whole energy of 20,000. And I'm not saying sometimes it's not totally relevant to walk away, but I'm giving an example where that's not what the spiritual warrior is doing. I can walk away from my mother, but that's not what love is for her right now. The energy is to be here.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Does that make
I'm going through something similar. Yeah.
Mahatma Gandhi could have walked away, but he didn't, did he? no matter how many times he got thrown into that jail, no matter how many times he was beaten, and a lot of Indians got shot down, and all kinds of things happened. So in that situation, for example, what is the wise way forward? Not to be a doormat, but at the same time, not to run away.
Well, I would just say, like you said earlier, be a light for those that are in the dark. But don't be a doormat. That's the main thing, and that's finding that balance.
So how do you not be the doormat then?
I would say set up strong boundaries.
Yeah,
and it's something
so
I've become very.
When you're facing, sorry.
That's something that I've become very astute at. Is setting up my boundaries. Years of practice.
Yeah. So what's very important is grounding ourselves. What's very important is in the relative situation of a large amount of negativity to surround yourself with light and protection. You can surround yourself with violet flame, and you can bring in the energy of whoever your guides are, or Babaji, or Jesus, or whoever, to also help you and protect you. But also to see that the other is you, to ask what the lessons are, as Sue just shared so beautifully, that you're there for a reason, that there is sometimes karmic reasons, there are various things that are being dissolved, to realize if we are, on a strong ascension path, that those people are us and that they are actually our greatest teachers, because they may be teaching us tolerance or patience or standing up for ourselves. It's very different for each and every one of us. But to go into that each day, to also realize on a higher level that they are us, that there is only the oneness on the highest level. So that therefore that on some level this is also total illusion. And yet it's not illusionary in the way some spiritual people will negate reality. So it's to be grounded with it as well and say, well, it may be an illusion on the highest level, but right now I've chosen the earth walk, and within that, in a grounded way, I am bringing heaven on earth. So it's not about zoning out or suppressing, repressing, or, denying. It's not about denial, because that's not going to bring healing, because then we may run away from this situation, and then soon won't the same situation pop up somewhere else in the world with another set of circumstances? It will, won't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I found this to be true, because I've done the runaway thing. I've done the repression, suppression thing, and let me tell you, it does not work. Unless you deal with it head on. And like you said, with the violet flame decrees, I just did one, I swear to you, like 2 days ago. I woke up yesterday morning, and I woke up speaking a different tongue. And I felt the energy going through the base of my skull. And my mouth was mouthing the words. And that's how strong the violet flame decrees are, too. If anybody needs to Google violet flame decrees.
Saint Germain, even if you just say violet flame, Saint Germain, grounding, thank you. You immediately, it's the seventh ray of spiritual freedom. It's the ray of the frequency that we're all coming into now. And the same with Saint Michael. Saint Michael, 3 times. It can be that quick. And then, as Sue is sharing, you can also look up the decrees.
Oh, yeah. I do the Tube of Light decree, and there's a one that's called the Resurrection decree, where it changes the cells in your body if you're going through an illness. And that was a pretty amazing decree to do. So many of them, and it's just amazing.
Wow.
And your book is amazing, and I want to remind people where they can get it. So if you can please repeat that information that you said before, that would be great.
Yeah, well, I'm on Facebook, and that's Rashmi Khilnani, so you could follow me. And I have pages on Facebook for each of the 3 books: Shiva Speaks, Buddha Speaks, and The Divine Mother Speaks. And my website is rashmikhilnani.com. That's RashmiKhilnani.com. And the radio show is 2013 and Beyond on Soul Talk Radio, Blog Talk Radio, and we have a special page for 2013 and beyond, and a group page on Facebook. And then I'm also on Twitter, and the books are on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and Nook and Kindle, so also in digital format. And as I said, just be a little bit patient with Shiva Speaks if you can't get your paperback copy immediately, because I think it's selling out before it's even arrived, and so you can order your copy on Amazon.com. And I think I've covered, and ReikiEnergyMastery.com. So it's been wonderful to talk to you, Sue. And there was nothing in the book that you found too off the wall, or I think it was pretty simplified, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was. It's perfect. You don't have to have a degree in metaphysics to read it, and that's what I love about it, because anybody and everybody can pick this book up, read it, and understand it, and it's just fabulous. I mean, you even talk about the definition of love. Yeah, I'd love to do a show with you on the Divine Mother Speaks as well, particularly since I can feel your lovely feminine energy, and also you are a Reiki master, so that would be a nice thing that we could do, and another time we could speak to Sarah about that. And sending all our listeners a lot of love, a lot of the energy of their own inner truth of the moment, and integrity of thought, word, and deed, and sending the energy of simplicity, because believe you me, guys, and I'm sure many of you realize this, the more we simplify our lives, the more amazing it all gets. And people say, how do you live in 3 continents, Rashmi, and do all this stuff and get to go there and make things happen? And it's through being light, through having less and yet beautiful things, we can do both, and just having courage, and that heart courage energy, sending that to you as well, and the blessings and grace of Maha Babaji and the other ascended masters that are all so around you, with you, in you, as you become your own ascended master self now. So what is the big challenge in America right now that you see, Sue, in this moment of now, literally the last few days? What do you feel is the biggest challenge? A lot of conflict. Congress really does not work with our president at all. And our president's being blamed by the American, I can't say a lot of the American people, but for the things going on in the world. And it's not his fault. He had to come in and clean up after President Bush, I believe. He definitely. He had, I think he's an avatar. I do. I think he's very a healing person. Really? Yeah, I think he's a very
it's healing. Interesting, because in the Divine Mother Speaks at the end, I mentioned how, I actually mentioned that, this is because we brought a lot of love and light energy for that time of his election, for the free will and the heart opening. There was the younger people that voted, him in. But since then, I was also confused, because I watched him on television once, and I never watched TV, but I was meant to watch that. And it was when they were so-called killing Osama bin Laden in Pakistan. As far as I'm concerned, Osama bin Laden had already been killed. But anyway, all that is neither here nor there. And I just suddenly thought, oh my God, Obama's moved to the dark. But, before that, I had clear visions of him as an Egyptian pharaoh and so on in past lives, and holding high frequency. And basically the truth is that, none of the prime ministers, and all of them are falling and collapsing, and, all over the world there is revolution as opposed to war, which is great. And many are reverting to meditation. And as the answer to, what I was talking about earlier about violence and injustice and negativity, is passive non-resistance. Passive, what am I trying to say? Passive resistance. Passive resistance. Yeah. And, so, for any of us to blame just our mother or just our family or just the president, I just went to meet the Prime Minister's wife in Delhi, and she was just, she's a family friend. She danced at my wedding, and I presented her with the 3 books. She's done Reiki 1 and 2, and she thanked me so much. And, they're going through such a tough time. because everybody's blaming the last 10 years of Congress rule on a man who's a very good man, a very decent man, Manmohan Singh. Yes, the Congress party in India is corrupt and so on and so forth, but he is not. And it's amazing that he held this energy for so long and held the country together for so long, because we have a coalition government, and it's very difficult to form a government in a subcontinent that is the largest democracy on the planet and full of very indisciplined, but at the same time extremely politically savvy individuals, irrespective of whether they're educated or not. So, the same in America, Obama, no one person can be responsible. It's time for each of us to take responsibility for ourselves. And when we do that, we'll come out of suffering. When we do that, we'll have what we want. When we do that, we'll create grassroots communities and eco-friendly systems and clean out the bullshit of what we created over such a long period.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This, like you said, it's the age of light. We're moving towards the age of light. We're moving from the darkness into the light, and it's...
So there are people in the States now that are also seeing that what you and I are suggesting is true, and that there's no point just blaming one poor man up there, Even if he has gone to the dark or the light or wherever he's gone, poor man. The fact that he's even up there, I mean, who the heck would want that job,
Oh, I know. Whoever, I wouldn't want it, because, no matter what you do, I hate to say, I'll say it straight, I just believe in speaking my truth, you're pretty much screwed. You know what I mean?
And nobody blamed Bush as much as they're blaming Obama. That's the most hysterical part. I mean,
I know.
There was this guy for 10 years, it was upside down, and there wasn't this much protest then as there is now. And it's okay, it's okay to see the reality, which is that the governments are becoming ineffectual, that the governments are controlled by corporations, that the corporations and banks are controlled by a few families that control. That's not a conspiracy theory, that's a fact.
Yeah.
And more people are waking up to those things. But even those guys have to be forgiven. And all this us, them, chemtrail, Monsanto and all is all great. Good to know it, good to understand it. But then it's also good to realize we've got to clean up our own darkness within ourselves, and that outer darkness is part of what we should be responsible for. Because if we hadn't helped to create it, it wouldn't be part of our reality, would it?
That exactly. And just, like we were mentioned many times before, it all begins with each and every one of us. We're all each a divine creator. God put us here for a reason. We can either clean up the mess or make it worse. What's your choice? I know you're
inside of ourselves. It has to begin inside.
Yeah.
Because if we try and clean up even our own mess outside, then it's a superficial job. Like, for example, if you have, I lived in Switzerland, beautiful house, very clean, everything. Nobody's even invited for a cup of tea all year until they clean for 6 months. But what about the inside? A beautiful country, a lot of money, beautiful homes, beautiful food. But a lot of the people, you entered the tram and they wouldn't smile at each other, they wouldn't look at each other, they hated each other, they were unhappy. So the inside is much more important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, then the outside, Yeah. So, Sue, it was so nice to have this intuitive, energetic, healing chat with you, which has brought in the energy for our listeners now and in the archive. If they really want deep healing and transformation, just even through listening to a show like this. So thank you so much for all your service to humanity and for holding so much light in Florida. I really would like to visit one of these days and get various people together and do some ceremony. Ceremony is also very important now. For some of us, as we do these ceremonies with love and light, we hope to anchor and ground these.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
absolutely. Well, thank you for being a light.
Great pleasure.
It's been a great pleasure for me too. It's just been. Can you believe that 2 hours is just about up? And I was just like, this is really cool. We're just talking like we're just sitting down having a cup of tea. This is great. I love conversations like this.
And the doggies didn't bark, so that was great.
Yeah.
Now it's 7:30 in the morning, and I should try and get some sleep at some point. Though after a show like this, I'm just so full of energy because I asked Babaji to speak through me also sometimes, just for the highest energy to come through, so that all of us together, one heart at a time, together, open our hearts to each other, become more trusting of our own energy and then the energy of others. And then we come together and sharing and celebration. And physically, many of us will come together, I'm sure, in the time to come and do dancing and fire and celebration. And, and then we'll look back at this time and say, oh, my God, that was a bit of a dream. But
yes.
We came through it.
Yeah, that's true.
This aeroplane that disappeared, this aeroplane that disappeared is quite something else, isn't it?
I'm telling you, this is just mind-boggling. But I tell you, the difference that I've seen in the past 30 years, well, I'd say last 20 years, with people raising their consciousness and, learning about auras and the auric field and the human, which is the human energetic field. And I've been able to see auras as a kid, and at age 41, I finally found out what it was. And to me, that meant the world to me, because now I knew at that time. Yeah, and that's when I learned to become a Reiki master.
Yay.
Yeah.
Well, we will stay connected, and so much love.
Thank you. So much love to you too, Rashmi, and I will be talking to you shortly. There will be another show about the Divine Mother and also Buddha, your other books too.
Fantastic. Has Sarah sent you the books?
I've got Shiva Speaks. I have to look in the box she sent me to see if there's any more of your books, but
if
definitely
not, just ask her, and she'll send you a couple of copies. Okay.
Wonderful.
And then share them with your friends also. Okay. Well, lots of love, and Om Namah Shivaya. Namaste from India. Take
Namaste
care.
from
and see you in the States.
See you in the States.
Ciao.
Namaste. Ciao.
Namaste.
Namaste. And namaste, everybody. Thank you for listening. Many blessings to you.